93 The Fan.
Where are your favorite shows, fan?
Here's the 1-0 pitch, hit hard in the air, deep to left field. Churrio's going back. He turns to watch. This one gonna go. Luis Rengifo, his first career grand slam, and it puts the Pods ahead 5-0 here in the second.
What's up, San Diego, and a happy Wednesday to everybody out there in America's finest city. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. What a game last night for the San Diego Padres. A big 11-2 victory over the Milwaukee Brewers, who are the best team in Major League Baseball. That was a huge win and a huge grand slam for Luis Rengifo, his first ever grand slam in the big leagues, and doing it against the team that cut him earlier in the season. I mean, he came in to help Milwaukee this year, got off to a very slow start to the season. Milwaukee had prospects knocking on the door, and now Luis Rengifo calls himself a San Diego Padre. And as Don Arcillo mentioned on the TV version of that call, Luis Rengifo now plays in Slam Diego. That was a big win last night for the Padres. A lot to break down with yesterday's game, but I will say this as I look at it, and I don't think this is why I don't think playoff percentages really matter, like chances to make the playoffs. I keep going back to, I think it was July 23rd, that Friday morning where we had our show, and I said this team was cooked. There's no way that we're going to be able to make the playoffs at this point. The way that they were playing, it was bad to worse. They needed a little bit better of a road trip to start the second half of the year. They lost 2 out of 3 to Kansas City. They went 1-3 against Atlanta. They lost 3 heartbreaking games in Atlanta, and their playoff odds were at 7%. And that's when everybody was like, look, this is why you can't buy anybody. We only have a 7% chance of making the playoffs. The percentage chances of making the playoffs don't really mean anything. And what I mean by that is, like, on that day, they had on July 23rd, they had a 7% chance of making the postseason. 7% chance. They go and they sweep Miami, of course. They've won 14 of 17. They've been on an absolute tear since then. And now their playoff odds are 52.1% chance of making the postseason. They went from 7% to 52.1% in a matter of a couple of weeks. This is why, like, I don't like when people like just look, well, we can't possibly buy at the trade deadline. Our playoff chances are 7%. Well, now it's 52.1%. In fact, the Padres have the third best playoff odds in the National League wildcard standings, behind, obviously, the Chicago Cubs that have a 99.1% chance of making the playoffs right now, and the Phillies, who are at 75.8%. Padres have now passed the Diamondbacks in terms of percentage chance of making the playoffs. They've actually seen their World Series odds increase a little bit. Padres had like a point, I looked at this the other day. It was like a couple of days ago. The Padres had a 0.4% chance of winning a World Series. That's now up to a 1.9% chance of winning a World Series. So you're saying there's a chance, if you will.
Are we rooting for it, though?
I don't know. Yeah, Frank, you missed that yesterday.
Are we rooting for it, though?
You missed that yesterday, where we had somebody call in to say he doesn't want to see this Padres team win the World Series because that means this would be the best Padres team in history. And based on how they've played, he doesn't want to see them be the best team in history. Or he doesn't want to remember this season. You missed that, Frank. That was wild. I couldn't believe it.
Like I told you what it said, if the Padres won a World Series this year because every single team had a massive issue and none of them could play, you take it. It's your first one.
That's right.
You take it. Doesn't matter the circumstances. Series. You take your first one. Not every championship you win is going to look pretty.
If the Padres would have won in 2020, would people have like, that doesn't really count? No, you would have been like, absolutely. You know what? That was the season. We played the full season. Here we go.
Exactly.
So the Padres now have increased their playoff odds to 52.1%. They have a 51.8% chance of clinching a wild card spot. Surprisingly, they have a 0.3% chance of winning the division. They're still hanging around, I guess, but they had the results happen that they needed yesterday, and now they're in a three-way tie for the playoffs with Arizona and Philadelphia. Now, if I'm looking at this right from yesterday, and there was a little bit of confusion when it comes to the tiebreakers. I know we don't have to worry about this right now, and hopefully it doesn't come into effect later on in the year. But in a three-way tie, I think specifically they try to find a way to have one team advance out of it, and then they go to the head-to-head of the two teams left. Right now, it's a little bit of a gray area of whether or not the Padres would make the postseason. But you're going to have to, at this point, you definitely want to win the season series against Arizona the way that this has been a slugfest. And if you get into a three-way tie, the thing that really hurts the Padres is they start counting records between the three teams that are tied, and the Padres are 0-6 against Philadelphia. I don't think there is a single path in which the Padres become the top team out of the three for Philly and Arizona if there's a three-way tie, because of the fact that the Padres lost 6 games to Philadelphia. I'd have to look into it a little bit more, but I'm pretty sure if the season ended today, I don't think they would be in, even though they're in a tied for a playoff spot, I don't think they win in these tiebreakers, but maybe they do. Maybe it's, head to head after the fact. But even then, the way things are playing out right now, the Padres need to improve. They're not going to be able to tie with the Diamondbacks in the regular season because there's only 13 games that they play against Arizona, so it doesn't get to that point. But right now, since they are tied, it would go to a division record, and the Diamondbacks currently have a better division record against the NL West than the Padres do. So,
it goes division record, then run differential, or
yeah, that's what it said. It's division record, and so since the Padres have currently not had a better division record against the NL West than the Diamondbacks would go. But the thing is you're never going to get to that point because they can't physically tie Arizona in terms of their head-to-head at the end of the year. So as much as they're currently in a tied for a playoff spot, if the playoffs actually started today, if the season actually ended today, they wouldn't actually be in playoff baseball. But hoping for another good result in St. Louis tonight between Philadelphia and St. Louis, hoping for the Rockies to maybe get the Diamondbacks one more time. That would be fantastic today. And hoping for a Padres sweep. Now, here's what's in play right now, and I don't think this is out of the ordinary. And I said this a couple of days ago. I would not be surprised if Chicago passed Milwaukee. I wouldn't. I said that earlier this week, and I had a couple people go really, dude? Chicago? I know they're 4 games out, but Chicago is playing great baseball right now. Milwaukee has been okay since the All-Star break. They've been okay since the trade deadline. I think they failed at the trade deadline, as we mentioned. You got to see some of the young players. You see a lot of great young players from Milwaukee on display here at Petco Park, but the Cubs smell blood in the water, and they are playing at a very high clip. They've won 8 out of the last 10. They just won the last couple of games in a row, and they only sit 4 games back behind Milwaukee for the National League Central spot in the division, which opens up the door to potentially not have to worry about losing the season series to the Cubs, because if you win today, you would win the season series against Milwaukee, and then all of a sudden a tiebreaker opens up. Now, Padres are still well behind Milwaukee. Milwaukee would have to have an epic collapse to make that part of the equation, but it eliminates one of the potential tiebreaker scenarios with the team that's in front of you. But I just don't think, unless Milwaukee or Chicago has just an absolute tank of a next couple of weeks, I don't really think that number 4 spot in the standings is that readily available for the Padres. But then again, I also thought the Padres were almost dead and buried on July 23rd when their playoff chances were at about 7%. And now it's up to 51% after the big win last night. So overall, looking at the National League, there's a lot of great teams in the National League and a lot of great teams that are competing for a playoff spot in the National League, which is a little bit different than the American League that has a fun wild card race, but everybody's under 500 in that said wild card race. Final spot with Texas being at 500. So last night you got to see Luis Rengifo, hit his first career grand slam. Fernando just absolutely on a tear. we talked about it earlier this week. I don't know how much you were paying attention because you were fighting some demons on Monday that you had to deal with on Tuesday. But let's look at what Fernando has done. We talked about his stance and the changing of his stance that he has had. For most of his career, he has had that open stance at 36 degrees.
Yeah, no, I remember.
And then for the first 2 months of this year, he closed it off to about 10 degrees. He has now opened it back up, and he's homered in 4 of his last 7 games. Been on an absolute heater and back to vintage Fernando, which, by the way, a lot of Padres fans, as I saw, wanted him traded before is there a way we can get out of this Fernando contract? He is now second in Padre history in home runs. He is showing exactly why he got that contract to begin with.
Yeah, I was watching the game with my mother last night, and it was after Camposano hit the home run. And I was looking in the dugout, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the guy that everyone wanted traded. There's another one who everyone wanted traded. Oh, that guy also everyone wanted traded. It was Fernando, Manny, and Merrill.
And then there's the hitting coach that everybody wanted fired.
There's that guy, too.
3 months ago, and now the offense is the best in baseball.
This is why we say you cannot watch a baseball season like it's a football season. You will drive yourself absolutely crazy, and in turn, drive us absolutely crazy, and you guys have succeeded in both.
Yeah, and so the Padres back on their winning ways. They're playing really good baseball right now. They're in a battle with Philadelphia and Arizona for the final wild card spot. But when we come back, we're going to talk more about the Brewers. So we're going to have one of their play-by-play men on with us, and Lane Grindle will join us when we come back. We'll talk about this game coming up today and where the Brewers are going at the end of, for their final stretch before they get ready for postseason action. Because if the Padres make the playoffs, they're probably going to have to run into a team just as good as this Brewers team, if not the Brewers, at some point in time. So he's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. We are live at the Loft at the Western Metal Supply Company building, getting ready for Padres baseball in just a little bit. You're listening to San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Only going about 12 today as we got Padres baseball coming up at 1:10. Eco Water SoCal pregame show with Sam Levitt at 12:10. And since we are live and on remote, a little bit different of a Bill House studio today. And joining us on the not SDCCU fan hotline, but the SDCCU in-person line. It's not Big Bang Banking, it's better. Is the radio play-by-play voice of the Milwaukee Brewers in Lane Grindle. Now in your 11th season now as a Brewers play-by-play man. Spent some time doing some stuff for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, a graduate of South Dakota, University of South Dakota. I think for a lot of people, Lane, and thanks again for taking the time. Before we dive into the Brewers, people living in San Diego, there's probably not a lot of them that have been to South Dakota. What was it like going to college in South Dakota? And but before, like, where are you from? The Midwest originally?
I'm from Southwest Iowa, so just outside of Omaha, Nebraska, and South Dakota, where the school is located, is in Vermillion. It was maybe 3 hours from where I grew up. And for most of my college time, people thought I went to the University of San Diego when I would say I go to USD, because we refer to ourselves as USD as well. So I feel like I've spent a lot of time in San Diego. And it was great. It's a small little town. It's changed a lot since I went to school there. I graduated from USD in 2004. But what it really provided me was I ran college track there, so I got ingrained with a lot of people in the athletic department, and then eventually got hooked up with our flagship station. And our flagship station that did the University of South Dakota was a locally owned radio station, and the owner was really ambitious, and he liked the fact that I was ambitious, so he just started finding ways to put me on the air. And when I was in college, I was able to have my own talk show. I was doing South Dakota women's basketball on the flagship, and it just worked out where I got all this hands-on experience as a result of it. So it worked out great for me. It was fun. It is a small town. There were times when you kind of struggled to find things to do. You didn't have the options you have in Southern California, of course, but I loved it. I wouldn't change it for the world.
We're talking with Lane Grindle, who is the play-by-play man of the Milwaukee Brewers. It's not going to be a one-on-one just about your life. We're going to get the Brewers in a second, but like doing
nobody wants to hear that. Trust me.
Nebraska Big Red. That was probably we're in this is a different part of the country. We're mostly Padres baseball. Frank and I love college sports.
Yeah.
But like that had to be a fun experience. Working for a college that is as big as Nebraska is, and the big probably at the time in the Big 12 transitioning into the Big 10. But what was your experience like at Nebraska? I mean that's a very passionate fan base.
It is. I grew up a Husker fan, so to get the job at Nebraska when I was 24 years old was the dream job, right? I figured I would spend the rest of my career there. To be really honest with you, we had just built a house like 2 years before I got the Brewers job, and we're like, this is it. This is where we're going to be the rest of our lives. But Major League Baseball came around, and you can't say no to that. And we wanted it to be a Midwest city, so it worked out great for us. But Nebraska is a great place, man. It is so passionate. The people really, their priorities are like family and faith and Husker football. Like those are the three things. Agriculture's up there too. So it's really cool. I mean, they have had hard times from a football standpoint over the last really 20 years or so. I was there for some good years under the Bo Pelini, in the Bo Pelini era, but they just really haven't been able to get things back on track. And it's unfortunate because the fervor and the passion is still there. Those people want a winner. They're still showing up every Saturday. And I hope for those great fans' sake that Nebraska can get it figured out in football, because they deserve that.
Let's talk about the Brewers. Obviously, the first thing I think is trade deadline, and a lot of people outside of Milwaukee, and maybe a lot of Milwaukee fans were like, this is a year we can go after it. We have all this prospect capital, and Tarek Skubal's available, and let's go make a big splash. And then, they didn't necessarily make the biggest of splashes. And it's interesting, the Padres and the Brewers, kind of very similar teams, just a little bit different on how they decide that they want to, run their team. Brewers are going, we're going to develop all these great players. They have young, controllable talent. Padres spend a lot of money and have, these gigantic contracts. But, tell us a little bit about this Brewers team that we haven't necessarily seen in person, about like how they run their organization and why it made sense, and maybe why, the Brewers had the deadline that they had.
Yeah. Well, I think what they tried to do and what they ended up doing can be two different things. They did try to get Tarek Skubal. They put a very aggressive offer in front of the Tigers for Skubal, and for whatever reason, the Tigers thought that
it takes two to tango.
Yeah,
right?
They thought that the Dodgers offer was better. I think probably without knowing all the details, what it came down to is the Brewers didn't offer the pitching piece that the Tigers were looking for, because the Brewers value their pitching depth, and they have most of their higher end guys right now in the big leagues because they've had to really tap into their young pitchers over the course of this year. So you're talking about Logan Henderson and Kyle Harrison and Shane Drowan, and keep on going down that list. Robert Gasser, who used to be in the Padres organization, all these young controllable pitchers that the Brewers have. It's what has allowed them to be as good as they've been this year, despite all the injuries that they've dealt with. Quinn Priester hasn't thrown an inning for this team over the course of this year. He won't. He's out for the season, and he was expected to be your number 2, likely, or number 3 coming into the season for the Brewers, depending how you looked at it. So the Brewers, they value that. They know that their young, controllable pitching is part of the secret sauce, if you will, of how they consistently win year in and year out. They wanted Skubal. They made an effort to get Skubal, but you have to have some lines, and you have to be able to think in a responsible manner, no matter how much you think this could be the difference in a playoff series. I think that's where the Brewers were on it. They did want Skubal. I think they would even probably, if they're being honest, say they got a little irresponsible with the offer they put forward, but it just didn't work out for them. And I think at that point you pivot to, okay, what's left on the market and who's going to make a start for us in the postseason? Because you feel pretty good that the Brewers are going to end up in the postseason one way or another. If they're going to be in a dogfight, I believe, with the Cubs throughout the month of September. Chicago's a really good team. They're playing good baseball, and the Brewers are dealing with some injuries right now. So I would guess that this isn't going to be a runaway and hide in September situation. I think this will be a good race in the NL Central. But even if that doesn't work out for the Brewers and the Cubs catch the Brewers are more than likely, when you look at the numbers, they're going to end up in the wild card. So you're looking for somebody that's going to be a difference maker that can take the ball for you and make a start in the postseason when you're talking about starting pitching. And so I think they believe that Dustin May was that guy. That's who they went and got. He's obviously pitched very well against the Padres this year. He's pitched against the Padres a lot over the course of his career. So we'll see how he handles his second start for the Brewers here this afternoon. But they added a bullpen piece in JoJo Romero that they're excited about. I think another lefty was something they needed in that bullpen. And Antonio Senzatella, there's been mixed returns in his 3 outings that he's made as a Brewer so far. The first 2 very good. The last one was not so great. But he gives them another guy that can get the ball with that sinker, get the ball hit on the ground, and the Brewers have an elite defense that can play behind him. So I think they feel good about what they did. But, yeah, I mean, the big piece was Skubal. That's who they wanted, but only one team gets to end up with him. And, unfortunately, it was the Dodgers, which is kind of a double whammy because if you face them in the postseason, now you're facing Skubal as well.
Well, a big reason why they value the pitching, they get to see, they've already gotten the dividends on, a guy like Jacob Mizorowski, who has been just incredible to watch. You get to watch him in person a lot more than a lot of our fans do. We get to say Mason Miller, who throws high velocity, but it's 1 inning.
Right.
Mizorowski is doing it inning after inning after inning. What's it like watching him, and what's it like covering him as an athlete? Because for a lot of fans here that didn't get to see him in person because he made the start on Sunday, I mean, he's been fun to watch on TV. I'm sure it's even better in person.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to see when he takes the mound. I mean, you just kind of prepare yourself for like some historical thing that could happen, because it feels like almost every start there's something new we're talking about that he's done, whether striking out 11 of the first 12 that he faces, or the start against the Phillies was definitely his best start of the year. The complete game 1-hitter was just, I mean, it was an absolute masterpiece from Miz. He is just so unique, so special. I've never seen anything like it. I wouldn't say we'll never see anything like it again, because the way pitching is going and trending, who knows what we're going to see in the next 10 or 15 years. But this dude is a unicorn. There's times where it feels like he's an alien or something, because he just does stuff that you've never seen before. And it's what's really cool, I think, what I enjoy is how he will tell you, if you just look at the velo readings, he will tell you when he's fired up to face somebody. When Pete Crow Armstrong steps into the box to lead off a game, there's a 104.5, right? It's in there. he'll kind of cruise up and down a little bit, and then in some of the big moments, you'll see him ramp it back up and empty the tank a little bit because he knows, okay, now I can't mess around. I got to go after this guy, and most of the time it works out in his favor. So he's really special. I think there's more in there. Pat Murphy was just telling me Monday, he's like, this guy still has a long way to go in terms of what he's capable of. I don't even know if he knows what he's capable of. That's scary because right now I think he's the heavy odds-on favorite to win the NL Cy Young.
We're talking with Lane Grindle. He is the play-by-play man of the Milwaukee Brewers. You'll have the call today on radio for Milwaukee. Get a little end of season scouting report, as this will be the last game that the Padres play Milwaukee, at least in the regular season. I agree with what you said earlier. I mean, the Brewers most likely will be in the postseason, and maybe another potential matchup between Padres and Milwaukee. I do want to ask too a little bit about, and this is just my observation from afar. I enjoy watching William Contreras play because he seems so mild mannered. And when he's behind the plate, he looks like he has fun with a lot of the guys that come to the dish. He looks like a lot of the players on other teams respect him a high amount. A little bit different in terms of the makeup probably than his brother in Boston. But what's William Contreras like? As a person, because it just seems like he seems to be a guy that's just like a kid having fun playing baseball. Yeah,
he loves the game. I mean, this kid is out there early BP almost every single day, grinding away. I mean, he is a student of the game. He loves the game. He's a lot of fun to be around in the clubhouse. He's having a lot of fun. He's smiling a lot. But I think the thing for me that I enjoy about William is that when he's really dialed in, and when you're catching as much as he does, there's going to be some stretches where you're tired and you're beat down a little bit, and you're maybe not going to be quite as sharp as you want to be. I think that's just natural. I think almost every catcher that catches the amount of games and innings that he does probably goes through that at different points over the course of the season. But when he's really dialed in, I think the game is super slow for him. He sees things a step ahead. He really sees the game differently than I think a lot of players do. There was a play in the NLCS Game 1 last year where the Brewers it was one of those odd plays. I mean, everybody's talking about the Red Sox and Blue Jays played the other night, but the play with Frelick at the wall where the ball pops out of the glove, hits the wall, he catches it again. It's not a catch, but the Brewers throw home and they end up getting two and getting out of the inning. William, if you watch that play, had it from the jump. He knew exactly what happened. He knew exactly what was going on, and everybody else on the field was confused, and he's just directing traffic. I think that is what I think of when I think of William. When he is at his best, super dialed in, he is a step ahead of most players on the field.
Yeah, and having that behind the dish to be able to kind of coordinate everything is such a huge asset. It's almost like having a manager out there on the field. Last night, Luis Rengifo hits a grand slam, and that's his first ever grand slam that he's had. He has been such a resurgence for the Padres, and this is not about what are the Brewers doing? Because I think the circumstances for Milwaukee were different with Luis Rengifo than what the Padres need. This is more of a sense of Luis Rengifo has had a really solid major league career, and this isn't like a couple of weeks where the guy's just getting hot that you found somebody in the scrap heap. What was the situation with Luis Rengifo for a lot of Padres fans that might not know? But he was kind of an odd man out in Milwaukee if he did not play very well, and he did not really play very well.
No, he struggled mightily in a Brewers uniform. I think the defense, and this is a guy that's been a Gold Glove candidate, of course, but the defense at third was probably not quite to the Brewers standard. That is something that is a huge deal. You got to play defense if you're a Milwaukee Brewer. I don't think that he was bad defensively necessarily, but when you compare it to Bryce Terang and Joey Ortiz and now Cooper Pratt, certainly wasn't at that standard. And offensively, just never got on track. Just never could really get the ball rolling down the hill. And, the Brewers gave him a decent runway to get it figured out. And once they were ready to make some moves and Cooper Pratt was going to come up, that was the time to move on from Rengifo. And so that's what the Brewers did. I don't know that anybody's super surprised that he's finding success. I don't think when the Brewers let Rengifo go, they thought this guy's done.
Right.
He's washed. I don't think anybody believed that. I think they felt like he'll find somewhere, and if it's the right landing spot, he can find the back of the baseball card again. And I think that's what he's done here for San Diego, is to the Brewers' demise last night, unfortunately. But nobody wishes Luis any ill will.
Right.
He was perfectly a good fit in the clubhouse with everybody else. And I watched his interview after the game last night. He was complimentary of the Brewers, which was the professional thing to do after a team just let you go a month and a half ago. So he's found it with San Diego. He certainly made a big impact for their offense. And this Padres offense right now, what we saw early in the season, totally different team right now.
Way different team. They needed a miraculous Gavin Sheets home run to just not get swept at Milwaukee with how bad a lot of that has been. But for you, in getting to see all these other teams and you finally get to see them up close, I usually like asking this before you get to see the team of like what you're most excited to see about an opposing team. But for you, what's been the one thing that you've enjoyed watching about this Padres team? You might have hinted at it with how the offense has been playing right now, but I'm sure you have a little bit of excitement as a fan of the sport to be able to see all these different teams on different nights. What's the one thing for San Diego for you?
Yeah, I think the better way to answer that is what am I least excited to see? That's Morahone and Miller at the back. I mean, those guys are so special. They shorten the game for San Diego. And Jackson Merrill being Jackson Merrill again. This is a different guy than the guy we saw at the end of the season last year that we saw earlier in the season. I mean, he is back to being the Jackson Merrill from 2024, and you cannot make mistakes to him or he is going to punish it. And he is in a really good place right now. You can just see how dialed in he is. And I'm just a fan of the player. I just think that there's so many things about Jackson Merrill that make him a winning ball player. So don't love how he's playing right now against the Brewers in this series, but I think it's going to carry on for quite some time because he looks like he's really dialed in right now.
Last thing for you, Lane. As the Brewers finish the season, you mentioned the dogfight potentially with the Chicago Cubs. Mm-hmm. Cubs are on a little bit of a run. They've had some good battles the last couple of seasons for the top spot in the division. What can you give us in terms of a preview, or what should Padres fans look for if they want to watch some really good baseball down the stretch outside of Padres baseball as they focus on the Brewers and Cubs?
Yeah, 7 games left between those two teams. So a series in Milwaukee and a series in Chicago left between the two teams. Brewers swept the Cubs in Chicago earlier this season. Cubs actually won a series from the Brewers the last time they played in Milwaukee. It was a really tightly contested series, and then the Brewers almost pulled it off in the finale, but ended up hitting into a double play, and the Cubs ended up surviving. So I think those are going to be some great games. They're going to go a long way toward defining who wins this division this year. The Brewers have 4-game lead coming into today. The runway is getting shorter, but that is not an insurmountable lead that the Brewers hold, and they know that. They're aware of that. So I think those 7 games are going to be really entertaining for the Brewers. If you go 3-4, 4-3 in those games, you're in good shape because that means you win the season series if you go 3-4. So the Cubs probably go into that saying we got to go like 5-2 to really make up some ground and give ourselves a shot. So we'll see. Look, the next couple weeks could go a long way to defining this race because the Brewers have a very, very tough schedule. They got the Little League World Series Classic against the Braves after 2 games at home against the Braves. They've got to go to the Dodgers here this weekend. So the Brewers' schedule here on the horizon is very, very challenging. And so it looks like the Brewers have the tougher schedule of the two teams. So I think there's some twists and turns left here through the rest of August and through September. It'll be fun.
It's going to be a fun push. I know you got to get ready for a broadcast.
Yeah,
I appreciate the time. It was a great conversation, Lane. Thanks again for joining us.
Braden,
today.
Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Lane Grindle, the play-by-play man of the Milwaukee Brewers, joining us on the Braden Surprenant Show. When we come back, we'll talk more about today's game as we head to break on 97.3 The Fan. Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios, we know how. We are in a different Bill House studio today. We are in our Bill House Studios at the Loft here in the Western Metal Supply Company building. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Today, going to about 12:05 before we pass it along to Sam Levitt and the Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show. Got a lot of Padres baseball today on the airwaves. A lot to break down from yesterday that we still haven't really gotten to yet. But big thanks to Lane Grindle for joining us today on the airwaves. He was great. Great conversation talking about the Milwaukee Brewers. And, you know, as much as I still think the Brewers probably should have gone all in on trying to get Tarek Skubal and offering whatever they possibly could, because this could be their one chance to go win a World Series. Based on how they run their organization, they don't like giving up top pitching. And you know what? It takes two to tango. And, you know, the thing from what Lane said, he was like, it's not like they didn't offer for Tarek Skubal, right? I mean, the Tigers liked the offer that the Dodgers put together. So as much as, you know, a lot of people, myself included, mad at the Brewers for not trying to for not being able to land Tarek Skubal, the Tigers have some blame in this as well.
No, they absolutely do. And that's also what we discussed the day after it happened as well, is that the Detroit Tigers took what felt was kind of like a low ball offer. I'd really want to see what the Brewers offered in that trade for Skubal. But yeah, I mean, it's it's of course it's the Dodgers. You could say the Brewers all you want, but really it's the Tigers for blinking. And if you remember that Jeff Paso article that came out a couple days after, discussing that they thought that they had to take the deal, otherwise people were gonna switch to George Kirby. So the Tigers deserve just as much blame as anyone else for that.
I think he's right on the sense that the Brewers and the Cubs are going to be in a dogfight for the end of the year. I said it before, and I will say it again. I still think the Cubs are going to win that division. They're 4 games out right now. Padres can help them out again with a win today, and I think the Padres at this point, they got to get greedy and try to get after a sweep of the Milwaukee Brewers and potentially win the season series against Milwaukee today. The Padres at worst now, with a loss today, would split the season series with Milwaukee, which is not bad considering the fact that Milwaukee is 74-46 and has the best record in Major League Baseball at this point in time. But they got to be able to continue the hot stretch. Padres will go to Cleveland this weekend. They got the New York Mets next week. A little bit of a break, if you will, but Cleveland's no slouch. I mean, they're competing for a playoff spot, even though they're a couple of games under 500. They're still competing for a division as well in the American League Central. Frank brought it up off air about how the American League Central, we like to give it crap all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's the most boring division in all of baseball to watch. Like, today at 3:40, Guardians are playing the Tigers. I will not be tuned into that game at all. But you know what? They always have a very competitive race for the division, it seems like. The Guardians are still alive. The Tigers are alive. The Twins are alive. The White Sox are alive. Everybody's basically alive besides the Royals. The Royals have actually been playing a lot better baseball the last couple of weeks. I mean, last night they had a good opportunity to beat the Dodgers. Unfortunately, they lost it in extra innings. But I just – the way that this season is playing out, specifically going back to the National League, there's a lot of fun races right now in Major League Baseball. And the only thing that makes this season not great is the fact that you got the Dodgers having all of the talent and just load man. I mean, they're doing load management in Major League Baseball right now. I mean, you see it in the NBA, but they don't need Tyler Glass now or Blake Snell to pitch the entire season. They really just need to get it geared up for the end of the year, and then they can make a playoff push with a lot of these guys.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing that people are hoping that the salary cap sort of siphons out is the ability to do something like that. But yeah, I mean it's been a fun season, and I think as far as you look right now, Bravos have an 8.5 game lead in the East. Brewers have a 4-game lead in the Central, and then the Cubs have a 10-game lead over St. Louis. And then out west, Dodgers have an 8.5 game lead over Arizona and San Diego. So it's still relatively tight, not necessarily with the division leads, but Atlanta's been struggling a little bit. Philadelphia has been struggling quite a bit. Milwaukee and Chicago have kind of flipped fortunes. Arizona's been keeping pace with San Diego, and the Dodgers have been god awful here as of late. So it's going to be a tight race down to the very finish, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Chicago does come out ahead in the National League Central.
The wild card races are even crazier. Obviously we spend a lot of time on the National League, and the Padres are now tied for a final wild card spot with the 5th and 6th seed in the National League. Arizona, San Diego, Philly are all tied. I honestly think the way that the standings are right now are going to be relatively close to what they are, at the end of the season. I think the odd man out right now is Philadelphia. As much as Fangraphs has them as a way heavier favorite to potentially make the playoffs, I know they got good starting pitching. I mean, but they've lost, I think, 12 of the last 20 games, I think is what Kevin Acee reported in the Daily Newsletter today. They're not playing good baseball. They had a little quick resurgence, in terms of their offense when it came to adding Luis Arraez. Now he is back to hitting into double plays and not necessarily, contributing at a high spot. And Philadelphia, again, they're right around a 500 ball club when it comes to run differential. They're right around a 500 ball club if they didn't play the San Diego Padres. In fact, they'd actually be below 500 if they didn't play the San Diego Padres. So I look at the way this thing's playing out in the National League. The Marlins are hanging around 2.5 games back. St. Louis still kind of around at 3.5 back. I think Washington down are all out of it now. I'm honestly surprised about the Pirates. I thought the Pirates, with the pitching that they have and that they have assembled, was going to help them in the second half. They have completely plummeted in the standings, and they've gotten passed by the Reds. They got passed by the Nationals, the Cardinals, the Marlins. I mean, we did it a couple of weeks ago. We broke down the schedules of like teams that I thought were competing for the final wild card spot. We had Pittsburgh on there because we thought they were going to be able to hang around with their starting pitching. I mean, they have plummeted in the standings, and I don't think things are getting much better for them. Paul Skeens also not having a great year.
He has been awful as of late. I mean, he's getting knocked out of games quite early. Just looking through his last
60-something pitches last night or 2 nights ago.
His last 7 games, he's 3-3 with a 4.54 in 37 and 2/3 innings. He's allowed 19 earned runs. He's walked 15 and struck out 47. That is not what we've come to expect out of Paul Skeens. So he has really
his last 15 games. He's 3-8,
and he's got a 2.74 ERA in that time. So he has been very, very bad, and his velocity is also starting to fall off as well. So you start to think now maybe Paul Skeens is dealing with a little something that he's not saying, or that the Pittsburgh Pirates haven't said yet.
I mean, I just think it's tough on your body to throw as hard as he throws constantly. His velo was way down in his last outing as well. I think it's way down. He's still throwing like 96, but it's still like that's way
when
that's
you're
way
used to him throwing
compared,
102, 103. That's to me, that's a signal he's got a problem.
Ryan O'Hearn getting hurt, as Go Aztecs mentioned, also affecting the Pirates. But like in the National League, I can't necessarily rule out the Cardinals yet at 3.5 games back. I can't really do it in Miami, who's still hanging around. And since that big losing streak that the Marlins have had, they've really bounced back and have been able to be hanging around. I mean, it's really remarkable that they're above 500 right now with the losing streak that the Marlins were on. And at the end of the season, if the Marlins don't make the playoffs, they're going to be kicking themselves for that stretch, because they win like 2 of those games and they're probably in the playoffs.
What did I say all season long? Of all of the teams that have put up a fight, the one that I believe the most to be true is the Marlins, because of what they did at the end of last season. And yes, that faith definitely did waver during that 13-game losing streak, as anyone's faith would. But they have turned it right back around. They have been very, very solid as of late, and it happened immediately, sweeping Philadelphia right after getting swept by San Diego. So I've always believed that the Marlins would be a solid team, and I would absolutely believe that they would be nipping at the heels of the Padres come later on this season.
We obviously know the Padres schedule, and we know we've talked about Arizona's schedule. I mean, Arizona's got a tough 6 games coming up after today against Colorado. If Colorado could steal one today in Arizona, which I don't think they will, but if they could, that would really help the Padres out, because the Padres' next 6 games are against Cleveland and the Mets. Arizona's next 6 games also on the road, also on the East Coast, Atlanta and Boston. Now, Boston has kind of fallen off a little bit now, too, after their big winning streak. They have lost, I think, 4 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they lost 4 in a row. Toronto has been, competing a little bit there as well. But, with Boston and have now put themselves 2.5 games out of a wild card spot. But, Arizona's got 3 against Atlanta, 3 against Boston. We've talked about their schedule. Philadelphia, I mean, they got 3 at Minnesota. They're going to play the Field of Dreams game tomorrow. And then they got Miami. They got St. Louis. Those are 2 teams that are still competing for wild card spots, albeit 2.5 and 3.5 games out. They go to Seattle, who surprisingly is around, but they're 4 games out of a wild card spot. They got a break with the Angels, but then they got to go to the desert and play the Diamondbacks 3 times. They got Atlanta for 4. They got Houston for 3, Atlanta for 3 more. They get a 6-game break with Washington and the Mets, and they finish the season with Milwaukee and Tampa. I don't think Philadelphia makes the playoffs. I really don't. I mean, they are struggling. They struggled out of the gate against teams that they should have racked some wins up against. And right? And now they're facing a gauntlet of a schedule to finish the season with a lot of travel, a big West Coast road trip. I just think it's going to be hard for Philadelphia to keep pace with San Diego and Arizona with the schedule they have based on how they've been playing the last month.
Yeah, the Phillies, I mean, we've talked a lot about their age issues over the course of this season, and that age is starting to show. They didn't really get too much younger at the trade deadline either. I mean, adding Luis Arraez is a better hitter, sure, game to game, that's definitely going to help you. But if you're talking about age and just being able to get through the season, they really didn't do much to help themselves at the deadline.
No, they did not. When we come back, we're going to lock back into Padres baseball. We're going to talk more about what happened last night, get you a lineup for today. Fernando on a tear. Fernando, get the day off? We'll explain more when we come back. Baseball coverage on 97 through the Fan, presented by Xfinity. Score the most reliable Wi-Fi. One price, 5 years guaranteed. Xfinity, imagine that. Hour number 2 and final hour of the Braden Surprenant Show today as we lead you into the Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt at about 12:10. First pitch, Padres and Brewers coming up at 1:10. Padres trying to sweep Milwaukee and win the season series against the Brew Crew. A loss today would mean they tie. So the worst that the Padres can do is tie the season series against Milwaukee. But they would have a season series victory over the Braves. Could potentially have a season series victory over the Brewers, two of the top teams in the National League. That's good going into the postseason. I mean, you've shown that you can beat some of these teams and, do it when they weren't playing some of their best baseball. In fact, the Padres swept the Braves when they weren't playing some of their best baseball, and they beat the Brewers that one time in Milwaukee again when they're not playing some of their best baseballs. They got the Gavin Sheets savior home run in Milwaukee earlier in the year, but can't get complacent with this. I know the Padres are going to give Fernando a day off. You got to find ways to get some of your star players a day off when you can for this stretch run. But this is a very important game, I think, for San Diego, and hopefully a game that Robbie Ray can bounce back in his second start. I think we've seen that throughout Major League Baseball where pitchers that were acquired at the trade deadline have not put together necessarily the best of outings in their first time through. But Casey Mize did a lot better in his second outing for the Padres, which was back on Monday, and we're hoping that Robbie Ray does that again today. We're going to talk about the Padres lineup here in a second. We're also going to dive into what Fernando Tatis Jr. has been doing at the plate, which has been really impressive. But we did just real quick on the American League. The American League wild card is going to be a very fun race down the stretch as well. We got some really good baseball in store over the next 40 games or so as we go into September. In terms of the division races, you got two divisions in the American League that the race is wide open. Detroit, 2.5 games behind Chicago now after winning 3 straight games and having a run differential of plus 89. Minnesota's 3.5 games back. Cleveland's in 4th place. They're only 4 games back of the American League Central division leader in the Chicago White Sox. I think a lot of White Sox fans that have seen some dark days are thinking about it in the back of their mind that a 2.5 game lead over the Tigers isn't very safe for a team that is, had some of the worst teams in baseball over the last handful of years or so. I think a lot of the White Sox fans might be a little pessimistic about where they're at right now, but that would be a very tough season to go through, playing incredibly good baseball throughout the entire year, and then Frank at the end of the year not making the playoffs.
Yeah, that would hurt. But also, you have to also look at it. The White Sox are playing good baseball. Don't get me wrong. They are playing good baseball. They have been a lot better than they have been in recent years. Sitting here at 4 games over 500, you tell White Sox fans that 2 years ago, they're laughing at you. They're thinking where the Rockies and the Giants are right now. They were not good. So they are a little bit ahead of the curve. They are also getting a little bit of a benefit from how bad the rest of the American League is. But they have done a very, very good job and have gotten it turned around. You could be in a bad league, but it is on you every single day to take advantage of playing in that bad league. And more often than not, that's what the Chicago White Sox have done on a night in, night out basis. And that's what has them 2.5 games over 500 right now.
The San Diego Padres.
2.5 games in the division lead, 4 games over 500.
The San Diego Padres would be leading both the American League Central and the American League West right now, and they would be leading it by at least 1.5 games, if I'm not mistaken. Really got trying to do math right there. I think it'd be 1.5 in front of Chicago, and they would be 3 games in front of Houston right now in the American League West. Mm-hmm. That's how bad the American League has been.
Padres, and Houston's only a game over 500. They're 60. They're 61 and 60.
In the final wild card spot right now is Texas, and they're 60 and 60 after losing to the Angels yesterday. And that goes into the wild card conversation for the American League. It is such a mid-off that it's going to be incredibly exciting. the Red Sox have lost 4 straight. They've now knocked that lead they have over Texas to 4.5. And the Red Sox falter a little bit more. That can make things a little bit more interesting. But Texas is 60-60 and in the final wild card spot. Detroit, half game back. Minnesota, game and a half back. Cleveland, 2 games back with Baltimore. Toronto, 2.5 back. Seattle, 4 games back. You have 7 teams battling for 1 spot right now. And that's not even like including teams that might be on the fringe but not really in it. I mean, Seattle, I know they've just lost 5 straight games. They're only 4 games out of a potential wild card spot. I mean, 4 games out is on the verge of not being part of the conversation anymore, but they have 7 teams within 5 games of each other for the final wild card spot in the American League. It's really remarkable to watch, but I think you're going to go with, again, the run differential argument that Ben Higgins likes to have. Look at the team that's got a way higher run differential than everybody else. It's the Detroit Tigers, 89 plus 89 of the run differential. And they're a team that has won 8 out of their last 10. They got rid of their best player in Tarek Skubal, and yet they're still going to make the playoffs. Better. Yeah, they did the same thing with, now Jack Flaherty was not one of their best players, but if they make the playoffs, which, by the way, they've had the talent to do it. They've been just decimated by injuries. But if Detroit makes the playoffs, they would have now made the playoffs twice in years that they sold.
Yeah. It is incredible.
In the last 2 or 3 years.
And also, to go back to Boston, one thing that they do have that many of those other teams that you mentioned don't, they have players coming back off of injury. Adley Rutschman made his Red Sox debut last night. You also have Roman Anthony, who's supposed to be coming back off of injury a little bit later. So Boston's about to get even better by just waiting guys out and waiting injuries out. So I would be very, very scared of Boston going into the postseason, making that postseason run as well.
Let's talk a little bit about what Fernando has been able to do. He hit his 164th career Padres home run as we now transition from Major League Baseball back to the Padres. That moves past Nate Colbert for second place in franchise history. Only Manny Machado with 217 has more. And the significance obviously is not the number, but Kevin Acee wrote this in his daily newsletter. He's not necessarily carrying the Padres every night, and he doesn't need to, but he has been just a great player in the second half of the season. He has fixed his stance a little bit. He has put up some even bigger numbers now. But his recent production has coincided with the Padres' dramatic turnaround. Not only him, but Jackson Merrill as well. We've seen it with guys like Manny Machado for the Padres. And if you look at, and Kevin Acee had this in his newsletter about the Padres and what they have done since July 19th. They're 16-7, and they lead Major League Baseball in average on-base percentage, slugging, OPS. They rank 3rd in runs per game. And their top 5 hitters are a big reason for it. Listen to these numbers. Jackson Merrill since July 19th, 382 average, 1151 OPS, 9 home runs. Fernando since July 19th, 273 average, a 935 OPS, 6 home runs. Ty France, 337 average since July 19th, 922 OPS, 5 home runs. Luis Rengifo, who has been a huge pickup for this team, for the Padres, 329 average, 892 OPS, 4 home runs. And Manny, who has kind of cooled off a little bit since his big resurgence in the month of July into the beginning month of August. Manny, 278, 792 OPS, and he has hit 3 home runs since July 19th. But, the Padres have 41 more games to really, finish this thing and get themselves into the postseason. But, Fernando has 4 home runs in his last 7 games. We've talked about the stance for him. We've talked about what he's been able to do since he has gone back to what he knows. And I feel like this team and their stars, at least the ones that have struggled at the beginning of the year, Manny, Fernando, and Jackson, all 3 of them went from doing something different to then going, I'm going to go back to what makes me good. And that has led to this success.
Don't change your swing. Just keep doing what you've been doing your entire career, and good things will happen. I think that's the lesson we can all take from this, is just do what you've done your entire career. Do what got you to the show in the first place, and you will be just fine.
Padres are 4-0 in this crucial 42, by the way.
Well, yeah, the crucial 42, again, that starts after you hit 60 wins and 60 losses. So right now you can afford to lose 3 games and still not affect that. So you are 4-0 since you hit 60 wins, though. Yes.
Yeah, 4-0, baby. There you go. We've talked about the offense. The rotation, though, has been a lot better. And this might be the most important part of what Kevin Acee talked about today in his daily newsletter. Padres have gotten quality starts in 4 of their last 8 games, which is the first time they've accomplished that all season. They got quality starts in 4 out of their last 8 games, which means they got a quality start in 50% of their games in the last 8. And that's the first time that they had done this all season. The good news is, because before, anything close to a quality start was Michael King, and that was basically it. They've actually gotten that from 4 different starting pitchers. Walker Buehler, Casey Mize, Michael King, Randy Vasquez, not particularly in that order. The Padres also had starting pitchers go at least 6 innings while allowing 2 or fewer runs in consecutive games for the first time this season. The first time this season, the Padres had starting pitchers in back-to-back games go at least 6 innings, allowing 2 or fewer runs. That's incredible. First of all, that this happened. It's even better that it's starting to happen now at this point in the season, because this is what separates hot streaks from playoff caliber teams. Earlier season Padres, how do we get through tonight? Now we have a starting pitcher who can give us 6 good innings, and then we can let the bullpen do what it's supposed to do, pitching to the strength for the Padres. And I have to say, my bold prediction yesterday, we had Kyle give a bold prediction. He thought Jackson Merrill's going to homer in 4 straight days. Kyle, I like the effort, man, on the first one. It's not bad. That was definitely bold. But I tell you what,
got a double, though, did he not?
Some of us got it right last night on the bold prediction. I said that Walker Buehler will outduel his counterpart and go 6 innings, and he did that last night. Now, his counterpart didn't get a lot of help from their defense yesterday, with Bay making that miscalculation over there at second base, which could have been – that went from – I mean, think about the sequence last night of what that could have been. You had runners on first and second after a couple of singles, and then Luis Camposano, if the Brewers play that correctly, could have potentially hit into an inning-ending triple play. Instead, it leads to Fernando drawing a walk to load the bases on an ABS challenge into a Luis Rengifo grand slam. I mean, think about all the things in that inning that had to go right for the Padres, and it gave them a 5-0 lead.
I made a bold prediction last night as well.
That you were going to make it to work today?
Well, no, yeah, that the Dark Knight would not return for today's show. But here's something I want to bring this up in the chat here for a quick second. D1115 here, one of our wonderful chatters, as always. Souza probably changed all their swings at the beginning of the season as to why Fernando, Manny, and Jackson are starting to change things around. Did we forget the part where Fernando had tried doing different things on his own over the offseason?
And how Manny worked with a different hitting coach during the offseason, and Steven Souza Jr. got hired. I don't know. When was that, like November?
Yeah.
December? Like, that wasn't even like, it's not even like he had time to really work with these guys. Oh, and by the way, we're talking about guys that played in the World Baseball Classic. So, like, no, they're not like that. This was not a Souza, they fixed themselves after Souza ruined it. I think this is a lot of Souza putting in some work to try to get these guys back to what they have been.
Yeah, this is other people ruining it for Souza, and then Souza having to fix it. That's what this has been. And a lot of the articles that have come out about these guys this season has more or less proven that it's not the approach that Souza had this year. It's not him trying to change them to fit some sort of certain way. All the articles that came out this year have said that those guys went off and tried to do something with different people that didn't work, and now they're trying to revert back to their old ways.
Yes.
That's documented. That's not an opinion. That is documented.
We have seen it, and I saw it. I saw it in Boston when I was over there. When I went with, went to go watch the Padres play at Fenway Park, and was doing the Fenway tour. That was a night game. That was a late afternoon game, and it was like 10 in the morning on the East Coast, and the Padres were there taking BP, and it was Manny, and it was Cronenworth, and it was Fernando, and it was Steven Souza Jr., and they were putting in all this extra work before the game. It was Xander Bogaerts as well, and they were putting in this extra work because at that time, again, they were not hitting well. That was really early in the season. And then we were here a couple of about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago.
I think that was like the beginning of June, I think.
We were here, and they didn't, and it was just Manny and Fernando and Souza trying to figure out their swing to a point where they didn't want the media filming, the batting session. I mean, he was putting in the time and the effort with these stars to get them right, and now you're starting to see some different results and more positive results. And so I think a little bit of it is on the players, but for everybody that wanted to blame Steven Souza Jr. for this offense, which we said on this show, you would just be firing him just to try to light a spark under the players. For as much as people wanted to blame him for why this team wasn't hitting, I think if you're one of those people, you're going to have to give them credit for why they're hitting better now. Otherwise, it's just always going to be his fault when there's failure and never his fault when there's success. I know that coaches know that going into coaching, but I think you got to give this guy a little bit of credit for what this offense has been able to do. And sometimes it takes time. I mean, we're talking about a non-traditional spring training for the Padres with a brand new coaching staff, missing guys because of the WBC. And now you're starting to see more and more of this team work with Steven Souza Jr., and they're getting better and better results as the season goes on. It's not like these guys have any time to go work with another hitting coach right now or their own private hitting coach in the middle of the season. This is when you work with your major league hitting coach with the game plans, and this offense is doing a lot better.
And it's also, as I've said, usually when you fire members of the coaching staff, it is usually a sign that the manager is on the hot seat and it is time for the manager to go. It's getting to that time. Craig Stammen has done absolutely nothing this year to garner getting fired. They are currently 7 games over 500. If you start firing people off the coaching staff when they are over 500 and in a wild card race, that is a signal to every single coach out there in baseball, not that this is a team that holds people accountable, is that this is a team that is a toxic team to work for and one that you wouldn't want to get in bed with. That is all of the wrong messages that you would be sending if you had fired Steven Souza Jr. earlier in the year. They made the right decision by keeping him. They made the right decision by sticking beside him and backing him for as long as they have.
I will say, Philadelphia right now, who parted ways with their coaching staff, it looked really good when they played the Giants and the Rockies, 12 straight times. But we don't necessarily know if that's even going to work out for Philly. I mean, they are in danger of potentially not making the playoffs, and they have now gotten underway in St. Louis, a game to monitor. When we come back, we're going to talk about the big addition that Luis Rengifo has been for the Padres and some of the comparisons of this Padres team to the 2024 team. We'll talk about that when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. We're broadcasting live from the Loft, getting ready for Padres baseball. We'll be handing it over to Sam Levitt, the Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show coming up at about 12:10. First pitch, Padres and Brewers at 1:10. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. We usually broadcast live for the Bill House Studios. We know how. I don't know what came about with that bit. I must have. It might have been it was on the morning show, and I missed it. But I have been seeing on my timeline on social media Adam wearing a bunch of different AI-generated Padres shirts, and I have no context of why that's the case.
Do you want me to jump in and explain here?
Yeah,
Please.
I got to hear what Adam's got to say about this.
So what is it? 2 nights ago, Jackson Merrill hit the gigantic go-ahead home run in the 7th inning, and I happen to be wearing a Merrill Madness T-shirt. So I took a selfie of me wearing the Merrill Madness T-shirt right after he hit the home run, and I posted it. And people thought it looked a certain way. The look in my eyes, however you want to describe it. And so the morning show gave me a lot of grief over it, as they tend to do. And that was that. Just the fact that I posted a picture of me wearing a Merrill Madness shirt. And then last night when Rengifo hit his grand slam, someone's like, can't wait to see the picture of Adam wearing a Rengifo shirt. So here I am wearing a Rengifo shirt. And then Tatis went deep. Well, I got to keep the bit alive at that point. That's the backstory.
Yeah, you don't look – all right, so I found the picture of you wearing the Merrill Madness shirt. So this is the OG one that you posted on August 10th.
Correct.
You don't seem very stoked that he hit a home run.
No, how do you take it? It's like how do you take your driver's license picture, right? Do you smile and give the big show the pearly whites? It's like, look, give
it that.
There's rule. I mean, the selfie. I get the awkward selfie photo, kind of like, what face do I make when I'm doing a selfie, right? But you don't look like Jackson Merrill just hit a game-changing home run against the best team in baseball. You're just like, here's my Merrill shirt that I have.
It wasn't me jumping up and down. It was just kind of like, yeah, that's right. Merrill Madness, baby.
I think so. That shirt is real. Have you made the AI T-shirts, or do you actually? Yeah, these are. Just grabbing random Are you photoshopping this? Or are you going like...
I was finding T-shirts of the player who just hit the home run and using AI to kind of superimpose it on me. But I think the bit's done. I'm not going to be doing that anymore tonight.
I don't know. We got the Rengifo one. We got the Fernando one. I love the Luis Camposano built for this San Diego shirt. I think that's awesome. Are we going to see that with Georgia football this year? Yeah, there's Adam on the... on the YouTube stream. I'm telling you, he doesn't look super excited. That's
the original.
I get the awkwardness of like taking a selfie. I understand that, because that's always, I never know what face to make. Just a smile always looks weird, and then you're over analyzing what you look like on the photo. But yeah, the Merrill Madness shirt is hilarious. It's a good bit. It's a good thing. What's going on, Frank? Why are we going to do 3 boxes here?
Calm down.
We don't need to see the other one.
No, I just want to show one.
I mean, we're okay.
Okay, fine. No.
We saw the OG. If you want to see the other Adam Klug T-shirts that he put up, you can follow Adam Klug on social media at Adam_KLUG. So that was good. I didn't understand the context. I now knowing that you actually took that photo yourself, I think that's even better. And the fact that was the recurring bit. I just thought they had some picture of you just taking a selfie on your couch that they just started photoshopping Padres shirts on. This is the context now makes a lot more sense. So you know what? You're going to have to do that when the Padres, if and when, and I think it's going to be when, not if, Adam, the Padres clinch a playoff spot. I'm going to need the and the whatever the new postseason theme shirt is photoshopped onto that photo.
Padres make the wild card. We'll do that. All right.
That sounds good. Perfect. Maybe the shirt could say extra sweet or something. I kid. All right. Let's talk about the lineup today for the Padres. So Fernando is done. He's hit 4 home runs in the last 7 games. He is not playing today. He is going to have the day off for the San Diego Padres. You got to find time and place to give guys a day off. You have won the series against Milwaukee. I think the Padres should be greedy about trying to win today, and I think they are going to, but I think you could also do it and get Fernando off his legs. Luis Rengifo batting leadoff today and playing left field. Jake Cronenworth will bat second and play second as they ring the mission bells, meaning the gates are open here now at Petco Park. Manny Machado plays third and bats third. Ty France will bat cleanup, play first base. Jackson Merrill bats fifth and plays center field. Batting sixth in a right field will be Austin Hayes. DHing today for the Padres is Gavin Sheets. He bats seventh. Bogarts will bat eighth and play shortstop, and Freddie Fermin bats ninth and is catching. We talked about the catching position the other day. They continue to be some of the best hitting catchers over the last couple of months in Major League Baseball. You've seen it with Fermin and the big impact that he had on Monday's game in terms of his defense. We've seen his numbers offensively. Campusano hits his fifth home run of the year. Last night, he's been putting together some good at-bats. That's another big aspect to this team is a lot of the role players are doing a really good job of filling in. I know the season averages aren't going to look very good, nor are the season OPSs, but you're having these guys all play at a very high clip at the right time. I'd take that over what they did in the first three and a half months of the year.
Yeah, I'm looking through right now. You're not seeing a lot of high averages. 241, 217, 215, 292, 247, 265, 212, 221, and 197, respectively, in the lineup today. But what I am seeing is a lot of home runs. I'm seeing 20s. I'm seeing high teens. So these guys, they may not hit the ball well, but they are hitting it with power when they do. And those guys who have the low batting averages, the Jakes, the Mannies, those guys are really starting to turn around. They have been very, very good as of late. Manny has been great as of late. Jake Cronenworth has been very good since coming off the IL. And, of course, we've talked about what Ty France has done all season long. And Jackson Merrill, the run that he has been on as of late has gotten him back to his Rookie of the Year status. He has been very, very good as of late. So would love to see Fernando in the lineup today, but you do have to get these guys a day off here and there. This is a perfect place to do it, especially when you have a getaway day today like you do.
We talked a lot about like what this team has done in the second half of the season and what this team has been able to do since the All-Star break. I know we've also thrown out, July 19th as like kind of a focal point of when things have gotten better. I mean, I think if you just include All-Star break on and not include what happened over the weekend in Kansas City, instead of not including that weekend in Kansas City. I mean, this Padres team, if you look at the guys that are, qualified players, go back to that list of the starting guys today in terms of the average and the OPS. A lot of the ones that have bad averages and OPSs in that lineup have had rough starts of the year, including Luis Rengifo, that wasn't part of the Padres organization at the time, but he put up some very bad numbers in the first half of the season. But since that point, since the All-Star break, Jackson Merrill, 347 average with a 684 slug and a 185 weighted runs created plus, 357 BABIP. Fernando, he's hitting 295 with a 600 slug. He has a 991 OPS since the All-Star break, a 169 weighted runs created plus. Ty France hitting 347 since the All-Star break with a 172 weighted runs created plus. Luis Rengifo, since the All-Star break, he has hit 329 on the 329 with a 156 weighted runs created plus. Manny Machado's hitting 258 since the All-Star break. He's putting up some big numbers. Jake Cronenworth's hit 253 since the All-Star break. With an expected weighted on base average of 279. Every one of their BABIPs is over 290. I mean, this is an offense that has gotten a lot of production out of guys that struggled at the beginning of the year. And you know what? As much as I don't like the whole check the back of the baseball card narrative, they are regressing back to the mean in a positive way.
Yeah, they're progressing to the mean. They're getting there. And as you talk about, Manny's batting average might be down a little bit this year, but his power numbers and his RBIs are going to be roughly the same as to where they always have been throughout his career. Ty France is having an unbelievable season for a guy who we were questioning was going to make the roster in spring training. Jackson Merrill is getting back to what he was doing at 19 homers, 62 RBIs. Gavin Sheets, who's playing with plantar fasciitis with 15 homers and 44 RBIs. So these guys have they've been putting up their career numbers everywhere else except batting average. That's about the only place where they've all collectively struggled.
Yeah. And then it was all at the beginning of the year, and they have all collectively now hit over, almost all of them have hit over 300 since the All-Star break, which is now, about a month worth of data, if you will. When we come back, we're going to get to a couple other ththings that are going on in the sports world with our sports thread. We're going to let you know what happened with Sweetwater Valley Little League, who had a game yesterday. Get the update with that as they try to make it to Williamsport here in the next week or so. We're also going to give you a preview of today's game. It is Dustin May and Robbie Ray. Padres try to go for a sweep as we finish up the show here at the Loft for the Western Metal Supply Company building on the Braden Surprenant Show. Broadcasting live from the Loft. It's our Bill House Studios today. We know how. All of our guests usually join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better. A little Boston playing us back on the rejoiner. Big shout. Speaking of Boston, big shout out to Nate here on the YouTube chat, joining us in person. Rod was out here walking around. He's got to deliver some fresh urinal cakes throughout the ballpark. If you see baseball trading cards when you go to the bathroom at Petco Park, most likely Rod has been there.
That and
don't touch them.
Yeah, don't take those.
Don't pick those up.
Don't. I understand card collectors are
don't
a
eat the
thing.
yellows. No.
Don't take those.
I'm pretty sure Rod puts in like the non-valuable ones in there.
I would hope so.
The Loft, I think, has been christened.
Yes.
At this point. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973 if you want to join the show today. It's the final segment of the Braden Surprenant Show for a Wednesday. Padres try to go for a sweep today over the Milwaukee Brewers. We're going to get a preview of that in just a second. But first, what else is going on in the sports world? Let's get to Frank Marchese's sports thread today.
You know that group chat, the one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk.
All right, Frank, what we got going on today?
Number 1.
This one came out this morning. The Los Angeles Lakers, who were sold last year, they've done it again, which is very, very interesting for a sports franchise to be sold twice in 18 months.
For a $2 billion profit, huh?
Yeah, for a $2 billion profit. The Los Angeles Lakers have been sold to Josh Kushner. Yes, he is the brother of that Kushner. And Bob Iger. Yes, that Bob Iger. For $2.5 billion, a record-breaking price. The business... 12.5, sorry. Yeah, that's my dyslexia kicking in. The businessmen were involved in the expansion process in Las Vegas, but in a stunning turn, they pivoted to make an aggressive offer to buy the Lakers from Mark Walter, who purchased a controlling interest in the team from the Buzz family last year for a then record $10 billion valuation. Interesting circumstances surrounding this, as Walter is being investigated for some underhanded business deals. So this is just a wild story all the way around, and the Lakers are at the center of it.
Yeah, it is very interesting. I mean, I don't know why somebody would buy a team as historic as the Los Angeles Lakers with the cachet that the Lakers have just to flip them for $2 billion. Are we going to start seeing that on HGTV instead of flip that house, flip that team? Is this a business? Is this a big business going to happen?
I mean, I don't know if Jose Feliciano's here, but if he wants to start taking notes, I mean, that's own a team for a year and make a $2 billion profit.
I do find that to be very interesting that is the direction that they're going in. And I think there'll probably be more information on this, but he basically just flipped it for $2 billion. And it happened so fast. I mean, talk about like the Padres and how long their sale lasted, which I still think was a quick one. You know, the report was like, oh, the things just transpired so quickly. It's like, excuse me? You just like, team just became available that fast? Decided to sell it? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But, I'm sure we'll get more information on it. But the Lakers have now sold for the second time in how many years?
For the second time in 18 months.
That's incredible.
I have a feeling we'll be diving into this more a little bit tomorrow.
Let's get to the next one.
Yep.
Number 2.
A Texas judge upheld Little League Baseball's decision to remove Tulsa National from the Southwest Regional Tournament over an eligibility violation involving one of its players. Tulsa had originally been allowed to compete after a judge issued a temporary restraining order, but that order was overturned before Tuesday night's championship game. Little League determined that an incorrect birth year entered for a player's sibling ultimately made him ineligible, even though he did not play in the regional tournament. The decision means that West Texas advances to the Little League World Series, while the 13 Tulsa players are left devastated after believing they had earned an opportunity to compete. Did Little League make the right decision by enforcing the eligibility rules, or should the 13 players have been allowed to play since they weren't responsible for the adults' mistake?
So what was the problem?
Little League had determined that an incorrect birth year entered for one of the players' sibling, ultimately made him ineligible. So they messed up the birth year. So the adults messed up the birth year for one of the players.
I think that what that means is like they put the sibling's birth year instead of his birth year, is probably what that means, which is a very simple mistake. Think about all the people. Think about all the people that had to go through for that to be a thing, right? Now the report, the rumor about like what we thought that was going to be, or like that I got from some people that were speculating on why it sounded like a little bit more egregious than that. But I there's a couple of things there. Did they self-report this, or did some other team report this as sour grapes? I mean, that's something that's interesting. How did they make it this far without even noticing that? Rules are rules. You got to follow the rules. I'm not super into disqualifying teams because of like adults' mistakes that affected me when I was a senior in high school, and I still think that's it's a joke. But if that's what it was, I think that's kind of an overreach, if you will. But I also don't like the whole like the judge putting in a restraining order or against Little League and all that other stuff. All you need to know, by the way, about these Little League teams that make it to Williamsport, they all have a special rule that got them there. They all have like a player that is 14 but Little League age 13. They all have like somebody that's just outside the place that they're supposed to be playing. There's always like a lot of these teams are now travel ball teams that just go to play Little League just so that, for 1 year to make the all-star team. I mean, there's a lot of that going on. Don't get it. Like, this is not like the traditional Little League all-star teams that you see play in Williamsport. There's a lot of shady business happening for most of these teams. So it's not surprising to me that one of them got caught doing this.
It doesn't surprise me either. On to the next one.
Number 3.
The Los Angeles Angels have made another major change, firing pitching coach Mike Maddox along with 2 assistants with 43 games remaining in a disastrous season. Interim general manager John Mozeliak says that sure. Mozeliak.
Come on, the Cardinals guy.
Yeah, okay. Says the decision came largely because the pitching staff wasn't consistently using the technology and analytics available to them. Oh, boy. The Angels rank near the bottom of Major League Baseball with a .451 team ERA and led the majors in walks. So Mozeliak believes the organization needs to modernize its approach. The move is especially notable given Maddox's track record, including helping the Rangers win a World Series in 2023 and produces baseball's best ERA in 2025. Is this a sign that analytics and technology have become essential to developing pitchers today, or are the Angels using analytics as an excuse for a much bigger organizational problem? I think the answer is the second one.
Yeah, the Angels are a mess. They just continue to be a mess. The article that Ken Rosenthal had about their little golf outing on the trade deadline day when they had an off day in Philadelphia was some of the most Angel stuff I've ever heard in my life. We got an update on the Little League story. So what happened was the kid that was ruled ineligible was playing out of district. So he's not supposed to be playing in that Little League, but they thought he could because his 7-year-old brother played for the Challenger League
in that
district. But then I did see another report that like that league didn't actually have a Challenger division. So there's definitely some shady things going on. I don't think it was whatever the report was of like, oh, we just messed up the date of his birth. I don't think it's that. dumb. I believe the story that they were out of district and they tried to pull a fast one on Little League. And you know what? You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
It's like all the regions get together and go, all right, listen, we're going to break these rules. We're going to break all of these rules. But if you guys break a certain rule that's not within the agreed rules that we're all going to break, we're going to out you for it.
Right.
And that's what that sounds like.
So they claim that the younger sibling was in the Challenger League, and then they came to realize that they didn't actually have a Challenger League, and there you go. And I guess the softball team of that same league also got DQ'd.
But if the story
for
is
doing something else.
But if the story is that they put the sibling's birth date instead of his, that means you had a 7-year-old on that team.
No, they put the wrong birthday on the deal.
Yeah.
That's I know that they obviously don't know what years it was. But yeah, if you know, the story that I heard is what a lot of other people had reporting on. I find that is egregious, and that is like, I can't believe the Tulsa people are upset about that. Play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Here's your stupid prize.
Yeah.
You don't get to go to Williamsport now.
On to the next one.
Number 4.
New Red Sox catcher Adley Rutschman made his Boston debut on Tuesday night, going 1 for 3 with 2 walks and a 5-3 loss to Toronto. Acquired from Baltimore at the trade deadline for 3 top prospects, the 3-time All-Star, looked comfortable behind the plate despite missing time with wrist inflammation. Boston has been one of baseball's hottest teams, but has now lost 4 straight, making Rutschman's return particularly important as the Red Sox push towards the postseason. Meanwhile, Roman Anthony is also getting closer to a rehab assignment, potentially giving Boston another major offensive boost. With Rutschman back and Roman Anthony nearing a return, is Boston now the team that nobody wants to face in the postseason if both players can get healthy?
So Adley Rutschman was hurt before they traded for him,
Rutschman
right?
was hurt when they traded for him, yes.
Which I thought was the case. I mean, the fact that the Red Sox could potentially have traded for 2 players and they both get hurt immediately means it's not your year, dog. It's just not your year. But yeah, hopefully they do come back if you're the Red Sox. And you know, I would say they are one of the teams beating the American League because the American League is so wide open. It's so wide open.
Final one here.
Number 5.
We're going to go to Arkansas for this one, Braden, and something you should probably look for as a high school football coach.
I don't think I have the same problem at my high school, to be honest with you.
An Arkansas high school football player got an unbelievable surprise when he discovered a 2-foot cottonmouth snake, danger noodle, nope rope, hiding.
Don't get Augie going in the YouTube channel.
Hiding inside of his helmet during practice. The player had been wearing the helmet for nearly an hour before he noticed unusual movement in the helmet, and the coaches eventually found the snake tucked between the shell of the helmet and the padding.
Oh, my God.
Police had to use water to force it out, and Animal Services safely relocated it. Thankfully, the player was not bitten and simply grabbed another helmet and went back to practice. The coaches naturally use this as a teaching moment of check your equipment before you pick it up and wear it. What is the craziest thing you have ever found inside of your own sports equipment? Or what is one thing you absolutely want checked before putting on a football helmet?
I mean, I don't think I've ever checked my helmet for a snake.
I have a pretty crazy one.
You've had, I mean, I think I've had like a spider or 2 in my cleats that I left like in the garage as a kid, but I don't remember ever having anything important anything of significance in my sports equipment, let alone a venomous snake in my helmet.
The Forbidden Guardian cap.
It wasn't Oh my God. How? I mean, I can't even imagine that. I mean, I would have now at this point, everybody on that team's going to be checking their helmet.
Oh God, yeah.
Where was his helmet being stored to let the snake get into the helmet in the first place?
I mean, I know people in Arizona it's the scorpion rule, as you check everything you leave on the ground for scorpions.
This is a lot different than the Little Giants, where when the fat kid had the jelly sandwich and the Cheetos in his helmet. He had his lunch in there.
For me, I remember we were at San Ysidro, and for those of you who know the San Ysidro baseball field, it's up against like a
San Ysidro High School.
Yeah, San Ysidro High School.
Been there.
It's up against it. The baseball fields are butted up against a ravine where there's a bunch of tall, dead grass, and anyone who wasn't playing in a game that day was tasked with going into said tall grass and getting the foul balls that went in there. We called it snake patrol for obvious reasons. We went out to practice one time. We go into the dugout, and sitting in the corner of the dugout under the bench is a 3-foot long rattlesnake.
Wow.
And we didn't know it was there. We hung out with it for like maybe 5 minutes before we even realized that it was there. Called school security. They got it taken down. They got it taken out of there, but not before some of us who were incredibly smart. Not me. I was way over on the other side of the field because I hate snakes.
I hate snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Exactly. I felt so bad for that school security guard because some of the smarter kids decided to start throwing gravel at it to get it all nice and mad for when the school security guard came to take it away.
Yeah, because throwing gravel at a rattlesnake's probably a great idea.
Yeah, awesome idea. But yeah, that was the first thing I thought of when I saw this story was that in high school.
There was I think it was last summer, we were playing Surprenant Old Pros. Our brother's in the outfield, and he like looks down, and there was a baby rattler just like cruising over there, and it freaks him out. And so he's like, "Hey, there's a snake out here." And then one of the guys on the other team like goes out there with like a stick, and then he like grabs the back, like he literally just goes down and he picks up the rattlesnake.
Steve Irwin.
Yeah, and he just puts it in a spot where I don't know snakes like, and I was like, "What?" He just went, I don't know, like in the bushes somewhere else. And he literally just picked it up. And I'm like, what is he doing right now?
Well, no, Clay, it wasn't snake patrol because you were patrolling for snakes in the ravine. It was called snake patrol because you had to go into the ravine that most likely had rattlesnakes in it to get foul balls. Because you only have so many balls in high school. You had to go and retrieve the ones that went out there. So we called it snake patrol.
Yeah, that's crazy. He had suck in his helmet. I saw the videos of that, or the pictures. That's something I wouldn't be checking for more times than not. And I don't think that's going to be a problem for the kids that I coach, just because we don't have too many snake issues. We have more like there's a lot of skunks that roam Carmel Valley by Cathedral. Definitely skunks, definitely raccoons. A lot of those that roam around. But I don't think we're going to have a snake problem per se. But our kids do dumb things with their helmets. I mean, this is so classic, like high school kids. High school kids, like, they'll lose their gear because they'll just leave it out and they'll forget about it. And it's classic, like, somebody stole my stuff. Like, nobody stole your stuff, dude. Put it away. Put it away. Crazy.
It's just
crazy.
It's unreal. That
was that the last of
yes, that was. Cottonmouth snake in your football helmet. That is a story and a half.
Little League. We talked about Sweetwater Valley going to break. Sweetwater Valley beat Hawaii yesterday. They shut Hawaii out. So now Sweetwater Valley is one win away from punching their ticket to Williamsport, not only representing the West region, representing Southern California, but of course San Diego in general. So we'll see what Sweetwater Valley's got on Friday. They will play Friday on ESPN against the winner of Arizona and Hawaii. Sweetwater Valley has yet to play Arizona. They beat up big time Northern California. They beat them like 16-4, something like that. They shut out Hawaii. Hawaii had beaten Arizona 7-3 already in the first matchup between the two. So now it's winner go home for Hawaii and Arizona, and Southern California, a.k.a. Sweetwater Valley, awaits the winner. And I think Alejandro Kirk's nephew, I think his name's Noah, he's available to pitch from what I was told on Friday. And he's the kid that throws 75 miles an hour from 46 feet out, which looks like over a hundo for Little League kids. So that's if you got him readily available to pitch on Friday, hopefully Sweetwater Valley could take care of business and punch their ticket to Williamsport. Be another time San Diego gets represented at the Little League World Series. And that's getting closer. I mean, they have one of the Little League World Series games on now, another regional. Teams have already started to punch their ticket to Williamsport. The Northwest region is going on right now. I think San Bernardino ends up hosting like 3 of the regions that all used to be the West region that are now broken up because Southern California and Hawaii would win all the time. It wasn't fair to the other states. But no, I think they're in the semifinals to determine who goes. But we're getting closer to the Little League World Series. All right, today, talking about today's game. Robbie Ray making his second start for the Padres. Love to see Robbie Ray kind of have a bounce back like Casey Mize did in his second start. But the Padres need to go after it and try to get another victory and sweep Milwaukee today to really put themselves in a good spot, especially going into the weekend. Cleveland has not been playing that great of baseball. The New York Mets, of course, I don't need to, make it painful to Frank's emotions, but they're not a very good team.
They've gotten better. They've won 6 of their last 8, which is more annoying than them just sitting there losing right now.
So the Padres have the Guardians and the Mets next over the weekend and next week. The Diamondbacks have a tough stretch in which they have to play Atlanta and Boston, and Philadelphia, who will be playing in the Field of Dreams game tomorrow against Minnesota, will have Friday off and then continue their series against the Twins over the weekend before playing Miami. This is a good opportunity for the Padres to now separate themselves from the 2 teams that they are tied with. That'll do it for us today from the Loft. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. Great being out here with you guys today. Hopefully the Padres get a victory. Sam Levitt, the Equal Water SoCal Padres pregame show coming up next. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow on the Padres Roundtable.